What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what's moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is up 2.54% so far this morning. No official news from NIO itself, no SEC filings. Just one of the biggest things that's moving it this morning is Lee's earnings, which didn't really go according to plan. So they did miss on their revenue, did beat on their earnings per share, but they also did lower their future guidance for 2025. So not necessarily the best. And in my opinion, I would have assumed that would have translated over to NIO, where obviously people would assume that it's going to come for them as well. But market seems to think otherwise. So NIO's earnings is 1 week away exactly, so I think there's a lot more optimism now for NIO rather than other players. And then aside from that, you did have some Chinese data, so new loans was a little bit lower than the forecast, but aside from that, nothing really crazy based on that. FTI is a little bit lower, so it shows that China is becoming more kind of self-dependent on itself, not on foreign investment at all, so kind of a good thing. Shorts are returning some shares this morning, which is aiding in it going higher, so they are returning 4.38 million shares. So shorts actually did return a lot yesterday as well. Didn't really help the stock price that much, but in general it did signal that yesterday's pullback was not really just. 15.23% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 203.46 million shares overall are being shorted. With today being Friday, just take a look at this for the open interest. So with it at $4 and change, you have 13,000 at that 450, 31,000 at that 5, 32,000 at that 550. So essentially when it comes down to it, NIO is building some pretty good momentum, but at the same time, shorts might actually try to suppress it if NIO does get close to the $5 mark, because both market makers and shorts have a financial interest in ensuring that NIO does not close above $5, right? Because that 31,000 shares does work out to be 3.1 million shares that they don't want to cover. So it's a lot easier for them just to suppress it, have it close at 499 as what we've seen in the past. And then that way the 31,000 and above all expires worthless. So just watch for that closer to the end of the day. So a little bit of manipulation potentially, but aside from that though, with it at $2.85 trading between this R1 and the pivot, $4.60 is going to be that next strong support. It wasn't touched yesterday, so just kind of keep that in mind. But aside from that, you have 418. So that 460 is a very key support that needs to hold. Flip side, 502, and then you have that psychological one due to the options at 5. So you have a lot of heavy resistance. So I think NIO should really move higher. I know some people think that I'm wrong, so maybe the inverse might happen. As soon as the market does open, it might tank. Who knows, but I feel like NIO is gaining some pretty good momentum this morning. Shorts returning is always a positive thing. So you should see maybe a test to that $5 range. But like I said, I think just there's going to be external forces that try to ensure that NIO does not close above $5. So again, we've seen a lot of manipulation in the past. NIO is very heavily manipulated, but aside from that, no articles, no news to really bring up, no new analyst ratings on the actual chart itself. So you have 471, that's that 50-day moving average, $4.85 ultimately where it's at right now, and then 491 is that ALMA, so that blue line right here. So if it does get above that, then most likely it'll kind of close between that and that $5 range. But NIO's technicals, I think after yesterday's consolidation, it's still okay. So again, something to keep in mind. Stochastic RSI is somewhat neutral on the high end ish, so a little bit overbought potentially. So you could see some volatility if there's some negative data, but I don't really see anything coming out that could affect NIO directly through Chinese data or anything like that. American data, we do have some pretty big updates. So the shutdown, it looks as though that might be accomplished or at least avoided potentially. And then as well at 9 a.m., we do have the Michigan consumer sentiment. So algorithmic trading could really be moved because of those 2 points. So Let me know your general thoughts on NIO. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? What's your general 2 cents on NIO? So with all that, appreciate all of you watching. If there's a lot of big developments that does occur today, I'll do a PM video as well if necessary. But yeah, let me know your general thoughts on that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon where I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point, so definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.